Okay, so for the series of remedials, right, what we'll do is I will actually go through past year promo exam questions lah, right? So all these are they are all downloadable from the cohort site, right? So you just want to visit the cohort site, you can download the question paper, okay, and then the essay questions will be there, okay. What's even better is that there's also the answer key, right? So what I have here are a series of slides. They are meant to showcase or bring you through the answer key if it helps you lah, right? So but if you want the full-blown answer key, you can also visit the course site and download the answer key as well as read the examiner's comments lah. So for remedial, I just thought the best way to value add is to just go through past year papers, and for questions that you have a question paper for as well as the answer key for. Okay, so today's the first remedial recording that I'm doing. Okay, it's to replace the lesson that I missed because of I was sick for the week lah. Okay, yeah. So this is the first remedial one, and the one I've chosen is a demand and supply question. Okay, so it's the 2023 promo exams. Okay, and it's question number 1. Okay, so for this first lesson, I'll go through part A. Yeah. Okay, so part A starts off with a preamble, right? And we just change color. So it starts off with a preamble, telling you various events that are happening. So for demand and supply questions, preambles are quite important because usually, as you can see in part A, they ask you why there was a spike in the price of sugar, right? And so the way you find out why there's a rise in the price of sugar is you look at the preamble for the events that have happened. Look for events in the preamble. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is a 10 mark question, which means that it's 10 plus 0. Okay, so there's no need for an evaluation when it comes to the 10 mark essay question. Yeah, so the 10 marks are made up of R1 and R2. Okay, so for this question, the R1 and R2 are quite special, right? Okay, so the first thing you should take note is that it tells you there's a spike. Spike means the prices are going up, and it's in the price of sugar, right? And so this one tells you that this is a demand supply question. Okay, but if you remember all the way back when we were doing demand supply, I also told you that you got to take note of words like this, spike, which conveys something about the magnitude of the increase, which means that this is quite sudden, and it's a lot, significant. Okay, which means this just by if they like to use descriptors like this, like spike, or sharp increase, right? So like, for example, sharp increase, then there's a need to bring in elasticity. Okay, so what's the R1 and R2 here? So there are two cases, right? One is the blue color stuff, which kind of needs let me use black color, so kind of needs demand supply, and the other requirement is that there's a need for elasticity, right? And so then your R1 is actually to use demand and supply factors to explain why there's an increase in price, and your R2 is to use elasticity to explain why there's a spike. And so these are my two requirements. Okay, so with that, let's try and address R1. Okay, so what I mentioned to you, explain why the price is increasing and then why it spiked, which is your PDPS factors. Okay, everything that I have here on the slides are inside the answer key. Okay, they are inside the answer key that you can download on the cohort site. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing they'll tell you, so I told you that for demand supply questions, the events, right? The events are inside the preamble. So you want to read the preamble very, very closely, right? Okay, so the first thing they say is that because the sugar's prices have spiked in recent years because of something called the post-COVID economic recovery, right? Okay, so this is actually your first factor, which is demand. Okay, because prices are increasing, remember spike, right? It means that demand must have also increased, right? So then we got to interpret what this is. Post-COVID economic recovery. So you now learn macro. So you know that economic recovery means an increase in GDP or real national income, right? If the economy is recovering, it's recovering from something that's very bad, which means the GDP was very low that year, lah, right? So that's the first thing we say. We say that, hey, when there's economic recovery, there's an increase in real GDP, right? Which will lead to an increase in demand for sugar. So we state our point first. Okay. What is an increase in real GDP? It means there's an increase in income of households, right? Which gives people more purchasing power. And they will buy sugar sweetened food, like for example, confectionery items like candy and chocolate, right? Because these candy and chocolates, they are normal goods, right? But these candy and chocolates are not sugar. They are linked to sugar is that because sugar is a factor input. And so when there's an increase in demand for chocolate and confectionery items, there's an increase in derived demand for sugar as a result. And then you have an increase from D to D prime. Okay, so I placed ticks here to tell you important lessons to take note for these 4 particular questions, right? So for this particular question, what I want people to take note is to use technical terms. Now this is especially important for demand supply. It is true in essay, as well as even more true for CSQs. Because CSQs we mark for technical terms and we mark by point marking. Okay, so this is the economic recovery. So what technical terms am I looking for? I'm looking for increase in income, interpreting the recovery as an increase in income. Purchasing power is an important thing. And you have to assume that that particular good is a normal good. In this case, sugar sweetened food, right? But again, like what I said, sugar sweetened food like chocolate is not sugar itself, right? And so the final link is that you have to say sugar is an important factor input and hence constitutes derived demand. Okay, so you want to really make sure that you learn your technical terms well. So as you are studying answer keys, you can just go around and you just cover, can I do a shutdown? So for example, you just cover and you say, hey, what are the technical terms? Also you say, your first technical term is income, then purchasing power, then we assume something is a normal good, right? And we say, hey, if it's a normal good, then but it's not sugar itself, and the link to it is because it's a factor input, which means there's derived demand. And then you on the screen again and you check. Okay, so this is how you want to study just to make sure that you get all the technical terms right. You can do the same for essays, you can do it for CSQs as well. Okay, so this is the first part of the requirement, right? So you know that there are both demand and you need also supply reasons, right? So let's get to the next one, which is the supply reason, right? So for the supply reason, they said that there's erratic weather, right? So what this means is that there will be poorer sugarcane harvest, right? So what this means is that there will be a rise in the price of sugarcane because there's poor harvest, so the rise in price of sugarcane, right? Again, sugarcane is not sugar. So what's the link to sugar? Is that sugarcane is a factor of production, right? So a rise in the price of the factor that you use will cause a rise in the marginal cost of production. And so producers have less willingness and ability to produce sugar at all price levels. So supply will shift leftward, right? So this is leftward, right? So again, I want to stress, technical terms are very, very important, right? Sorry. Try and erase first. Okay, so technical terms are very, very important. So in this case, factor of production is a technical term, and then it will lead to a rise in the marginal cost of production. Okay, yeah. So what you do again, you say, okay, what are the technical terms for this particular one? So there's erratic weather, right? So what is it? So you off the screen and you try and recall. Okay, so if it's erratic weather, first thing you got to take note is that sugarcane is an important FOP. So you say FOP, okay? And the second one is it leads to a rise in the marginal cost of production. So you choose the supply curve leftward. And you on and you check again. Okay, so that's how you want to study. Yeah. So with that, then after that comes the price adjustment process, right? So after you write the demand and supply factor, you want to make sure you always include the adjustment process. So you really have to memorize this. Right. So if there's an increase in demand, let me see where the next slide. Oh shucks, I didn't put the next slide in. Let me just quickly add it in. Keep this a new slide in. Okay, so you want to make sure that you always include the price adjustment process, right? So for this case, the demand is shifting rightward, the supply is shifting leftward. Okay, so I'm going to draw a diagram very quickly for you. You can follow me as you go along, okay? So what you want to do when you learn diagrams also is you just look at the diagram and you say, okay, let's try and replicate it. Okay, so let's say I have the answer key beside me. I look at it, then I say, okay, let's cover, and then let's try and replicate the diagram. Okay, so I'm going to draw a x and y axis, so this is price and quantity. Right, so I have a supply curve, S naught, demand curve, D naught. Okay, then we have P and Q. So the first step is always to draw one set of that curves first. So you don't go and tic-tac-toe the thing, right? So you draw the black color stuff first and mark out the coordinates, right? So check your axis and check your labels. So you don't lose marks, okay? Essays you don't label, yeah, I can close one eye, but CSQs you don't label, I got -1 mark, right? So make sure you check all your labels. Yep. So after that, you can start shifting the curves. So then demand is shifting rightward, right? So demand increase, remember, because of it's a increase in income, purchasing power, normal good, right? So demand shift right, okay. E1, and then number 3, we're gonna shift supply leftward, right? So number 3, we're gonna shift supply is gonna decrease, which means you're gonna shift left, because there's a rise in marginal cost of production because of erratic weather, right? So then I shift supply leftward like that. Okay, then you see where the orange intersects the blue, and that's your new equilibrium. So you get very nice, you won't mess it up, right? Then you draw one time, you don't need to draw again. Okay, so I think this point I want to say I'll draw step by step. Okay, and then you learn by practicing really. Same with demand supply diagram as with market failure and whatnot. Okay, so what you want to do is just look away from my diagram and then you just try and replicate by yourself. Okay, so after you do that, the next step is to write the adjustment process. Okay, there's really no other way to do the adjustment process other than to memorize it. And if it's something that you memorize already but you've forgotten, then don't blame yourself. I think that's the first thing. Okay, forgetting is actually a part and parcel of learning. Okay, if you know the science, forgetting actually helps you remember better later. People, when they hear this, they don't believe, but it's true. Okay, evidence shows that forgetting helps you remember later. So the more you forget, actually, the better it helps you. It's just pain in the short term because you have an exam to face, right? Okay, so what are some keywords of an adjustment process? So first thing you want to take note is that there's a shortage of sugar from QD to QS units. Okay, if you can, I would like you to label the shortage. So this is quite challenging. So what you want to do is you refer to P naught, and then you want to extend like so. Maybe I should put it in red so that it's clearer for everybody, right? So you want to extend. You say at the old price, where's the new quantity demanded? So you read off the blue curve and you read off the x coordinate. And you do the same for the orange curve, QS. And so then your shortage is here. Okay, if you can meaning please don't mess it up. Okay, if you mess it up, rather you don't do it. Okay, so you want to say, okay, at the old price, find the new quantity demanded, new quantity supplied. Okay, so old price, find new QD and QS. That's how we do it. Okay, So we can find the QD and QS. And so then what happens is the consumers will be willing to pay higher prices. And the rise in profitability incentivizes motivated firms to allocate more resources into sugar production. So quantity supply rises. Okay, this is a very long price adjustment process, right? Compared to what you do in CSQs, this is so much longer. But it's necessary because it's an essay question. Okay, so what's happening here? What you will see here is actually this, right? So you were at this equilibrium here. You are describing to the examiner what you do to reach this equilibrium, right? So maybe let's change it to, what haven't I used? Green. So what happens is that this is the quantity supply. But because prices start to rise, people find it more profitable. You're moving along this curve. So you are telling the examiner, hey, look, first the red line happens, then the green thing happens, right? Because producers increase quantity supply. Okay. At the same time, quantity demanded falls because price starts to exceed marginal benefit of some consumers. That means, what this means in simple English is that if it's too expensive, you don't buy it, right? So then you move along this blue color line here. Right, so this process keeps repeating itself until the two x coordinates are equal. The QS and the QD are equal. And that happens at P1 and Q1, which is here. Okay, so you have a new equilibrium P prime, Q prime. Okay, again, what you want to do is you just cover and memorize, right? So at the initial price level, there's a shortage. Shortage means there's upward pressure on prices. As prices increase, quantity supply increases because firms' profitability means that they will produce more resources. So they'll channel more resources to producing it. Then quantity demanded falls because for some consumers, marginal benefit tends price start to exceed the marginal benefit, and so they cut back. So this continues until the equilibrium is reached. So once you're able to hit this level of competency, then you check. See, okay, have I gotten it right or not? Okay, so this is the first requirement.